When it comes to the coolest spaceships, there is no single pivotal factor. Some are city-sized machines, while others are fierce survivors. Some have destructive firepower, similar to the ones we see in the movies, while others are simply transport parcels across the galaxy. But the 10 spaceships on our list today have something particular. In today's video, we'll talk about the top 10 spaceships, but before we start, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon to stay connected. Yuri Gagarin, an astronaut for the Soviet Union, launched a Vostok spacecraft on April 12, 1961, and completed full orbit of Earth. He was the first person to travel into space. The primary spherical cabin of the Vostok could only accommodate one astronaut, and it was situated on a belt of gas tanks for life support and a pyramid-shaped instrument module that was discarded before the cabin re-entered the Earth's atmosphere. The astronauts were able to view Earth while in flight thanks to a porthole located at their feet. Gagarin and his predecessors burst from the capsule during the landing because the capsule lacked landing gear, but the Soviet Union disguised this fact so that the trip wouldn't be regarded as a legitimate spaceflight. Between 1961 and 1963, 6 Vostok spacecraft sent cosmonauts to orbit. Valentina Tereshkova, the first woman in space, aboard the capsule's final voyage. The United States attempted to outperform the Soviet Union's Vostok capsule during the Cold War space race with its crewed vehicle, Project Mercury. With Gagarin's journey, the Soviet Union achieved a milestone first. 3 weeks later, the United States flew astronaut Alan Shepard on a suborbital flight inside the Freedom 7 spacecraft. It wasn't until John Glenn's journey in the Friendship 7 spacecraft in February of 1962 that a crewed Mercury vehicle entered orbit. The sides of a Mercury capsule were roughly interrupted by a cylinder, giving the capsule its conical shape. While in orbit, the capsule rotated to position the astronauts upright with the window panel roughly at eye level. When the cone was on the ground, it stood upright, with the astronauts lying on its back near the bottom. The heat shield of the spacecraft ran along the cone's circumference behind the astronaut. Unusual names for Mercury capsule outside of the series include Liberty Bell 7, Sigma 7, and Aurora 7. In 1963, the last crewed Mercury spacecraft took flight. The Vos Hood capsule was largely influenced by the Vostok design, but modified to accommodate more crew members and later spacewalking, the next significant accomplishment the USSR had set its sights on. The USSR first needed to fit a large crew into the tiny capsule. To do that, spacecraft designers eliminated the ejection seat, substituted sturdy coaches, and a landing mechanism. In 1964, the Vos Hod spacecraft launched with a crew of 3 people, including a pilot, a doctor, and a spacecraft engineer. The trio did not wear spacesuits due to the cramped circumstances. The Vos Hod capsule was modified for a spacewalk and equipped with an inflatable airlock. The USSR launched Vos Hod 2, which carried 2 astronauts in pressure suits on a 26-hour journey, after flying a space launch test mission for the craft. The first spacewalk was completed by one of the cosmonauts, Alexei Leonov, who left the inflatable airlock and spent around 12 minutes in space. The flight marked Vos Hod's final flight. Gemini was a modified version of the Mercury capsule created to enable more astronauts to take on more challenging missions, just like the 2 Soviet vehicles. A few days after the Vos Hod 2 mission in March 1965, the larger capsule carried people for the first time. To land on the moon, NASA assumed that it would be important to dock spacecraft in orbit. Hence, the Gemini capsules were built to transport 2 men rather than just 1. Extending the duration of spaceflight and enabling spacewalks were 2 additional crucial jobs for the Gemini vehicles. Gemini 4, the second crew Gemini mission, lasted for 4 days and featured Ed White's 23-minute extravehicular activity, which was the first in the history of the United States. Gemini 7 missions were getting longer than a week to help scientists understand the effects of prolonged spaceflights. When 2 Gemini 8 astronauts attached their craft to a Space Launch Agena spacecraft in 1966, the program accomplished its other primary objective of docking in space. Gemini 12, the last Gemini mission, launched in November 1966 and featured 3 different spacewalks as well as docking operations with an additional agenda. After that achievement, NASA determined that it was prepared to begin attempting lunar missions. Not long after the Vos Hod vehicle was retired, the Soyuz spacecraft started carrying cosmonauts into orbit. Modern Soyuz capsules differed significantly from those that flew in the 1960s. Over the years, the USSR and Russia have created a total of 10 distinct crew Soyuz versions. Since the introduction of spacecraft's design, nearly 150 crew flights have been conducted aboard the Soyuz spacecraft. In 1975, the spacecraft also docked with an Apollo command module to officially terminate the Cold War space competition. The foundation of Russia's long-term space exploration objectives has been the Soyuz spacecraft. For many years, the vehicles traveled to Salyut and Mir stations, and they still travel to the International Space Station today. Since the Space Shuttle program ended in 2011, NASA astronauts and their international counterparts have traveled to the orbiting laboratory on the Soyuz spacecraft. The Apollo mission and its command module were designed to send people to the moon in the final phase of the Cold War space race, as well as to consolidate the knowledge gained from the Mercury and Gemini spacecraft and expand crew sizes. The command module, the main crew capsule for the Apollo program, slightly modified the design of their earlier vehicles by removing the straight portion that spread out the cone and gave the capsule a more squat appearance. 3 astronauts were to be transported in the command module during launch, Earth orbit, lunar orbit, and a touchdown. Separate spacecraft called lunar modules were built to transport 2 humans exclusively into space, to and from the moon's surface travel alongside a spacecraft that was intended for lunar landings. Apollo 1 was supposed to be the first crewed launch of the Apollo program in 1967, but tragedy struck during a pre-flight test, killing all 3 of the missing crew members in a flash fire in the command module. NASA delayed returning to the launch pad for nearly 2 years, while it conducted an investigation into the accident and improved the capsule's fireproofing. In 1968, the Apollo 7 mission, an Earth orbit journey intended to test the command module and the docking procedures that would be required on later flights, successfully launched with humans aboard. The historic Apollo 11 mission, which was responsible for the first human landing on the moon, was composed of 3 distinct spacecraft: the command module, a workhouse service module, and the lunar module, which was in charge of landing. In a first for spacecraft engineering, the lunar module had no aerodynamic shape because it was solely intended to function beyond Earth. Instead, a giant metallic beetle was frequently used to describe it. On the 3rd day of the Apollo 13 mission, in April 1970, when the spacecraft was about 200,000 miles or 322,000 kilometers from Earth, 3 crew members experienced an explosion in the service module. The 3 men eventually packed into a lunar module and headed for the situation the vehicle wasn't intended for, returning to Earth as NASA sprang into rescue mode, with the service module out of function and the command module running low on power. All 3 astronauts have safely been transported home thanks to the lifeboat plan. In December 1972, the Apollo 17 mission took off, and the Apollo capsule performed its last voyage in 1975. After the Apollo program was completed in 1972, NASA took a break from launching crewed spacecraft for almost 10 years, not doing so again until the early 1980s. The first reusable crewed spacecraft was the Space Shuttle. In total, 135 crew trips using 5 different NASA-built shuttles were placed between 1981 and 2011. The Space Transportation System, which includes the shuttles, represented the first significant advancement in crew spacecraft architecture. The orbiter itself was the main shuttle body, which somewhat resembles a plane somewhat. 3 additional sections were added to the orbiter during launch, including a large fuel tank painted with a distinctive rust orange, which was the only part not reused, and 2 smaller white solid rocket boosters. The orbiters had a huge cargo area, an airlock, and 2 decks. The majority of crews had 7 astronauts. The orbiter returned to Earth at the end of the mission, absorbing the heat of the landing on its protective belly tiles. 2 of the 5 shuttles were destroyed in tragic mishaps. Challenger experienced a departure during launching in January 1986, and Columbia broke apart after re-entry in February 2003. Each catastrophe resulted in deaths of all 7 astronauts on board and triggered internal investigations at NASA. As a result, these 2 flights left a lasting impression that helped shape NASA's ingrained safety culture. The 3 are currently operational, but 8 shuttles were retired by NASA in 2011. With its Shenzhou vehicle line, China became the crew vehicle owner. With a 3-part design consisting of orbital, re-entry, and service modules, the Shenzhou spacecraft is constructed in a manner that is somewhat reminiscent of the Russian Soyuz spacecraft. China became the 3rd nation capable of launching people into space, when the first crew Shenzhou flew in 2003. 1 taikonaut, the Chinese word for astronaut, was on board and spent almost a day in orbit. The second crew trip from China carried 2 taikonauts, and the 3rd flight, which also featured a spacewalk, carried 3 taikonauts. China has changed the vehicle's direction to aim for the country's first 2 independent space outposts. 6 Shenzhou spacecraft in total have transported people, with the most recent launch taking place in 2016. The long-flying cargo ship, the Dragon, which SpaceX developed as part of NASA's commercial cargo delivery programs, and which made its first full-fledged delivery run in 2012, is a major inspiration for Crew Dragon. In March 2019, Crew Dragon, which was created as part of the organization's commercial crew program, completed a successful space launch test voyage to the space station. The spacecraft self-docks to the International Space Station rather than relying on being caught by the laboratory's robotic arm, and of course, the inclusion of life support equipment are 2 major changes to the crewed version. Crew Dragon has seating for up to 7 passengers. On suborbital missions, astronauts have also been sent into space using 2 different kinds of vehicles. These are far shorter flights, but they do travel above the currently accepted limit of space, which is 62 miles or 100 kilometers in altitude. The accomplishment was done in the 1960s by NASA's X-15 test aircraft. Despite flying a total of 199 missions, the majority of them did not cross this line. The plane rose to a maximum altitude of 67 miles, or 108 kilometers. The spacecraft demonstrated that a plane-like vehicle could survive atmosphere re-entry, making a critical genesis of the space shuttle. Later, in 2004, Spaceship 1 became the first commercial vehicle to make it to space. The craft and its successor, Spaceship 2, which is currently owned by Virgin Galactic, are only intended for suborbital flights, not orbital flights, and they take off in mid-air after being hoisted by carrier aircraft. That's it for our top 10 spaceships. Which one of these spaceships fascinated you the most, and why? Share your views in the comment section below. We really hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did like it, we'd really appreciate a thumbs up, and even subscribe to the channel if you're feeling very generous, and hit that bell icon to stay notified when we release some new videos. Until then, stay happy and take care of yourself.